Welcome to DasGeek. You asked for it, you get it. 21% of you wanted to know what my favorite distro and desktop environment was for 2018. I'm going to give it to you just like you asked for, but you just know that this was not easy. 3 years ago, this video would have been really easy to produce because there were, frankly, not a lot of great choices as there are today. Meaning there were always a lot of choices in Linux, but there weren't a lot of great choices. There was always something you were giving up here or there, performance, stability, something with one of those. But things have changed drastically in just even the 3 years I've been in Linux. And now it would be much easier to produce. Here's the top 20 of my favorite distros or desktop environments because they're all so darn good. So compliments to all the developers out there. We've seen a tremendous improvement in things like reach out to the community and stability and focusing on not just throwing new things in there, but just making the things that are already there more perfect, right? They're taking that wax to the car and they're giving it that shine. That's what they're doing with distros now. They're really shining them up and making sure the tools that they do have are working properly. And that has been an amazing turn of events. So your experience across these distros is very similar with just a few basic differences anymore between them, which is what makes this so darn difficult. So the only way consciously that I could do this video for you was to break it out into categories and not just pick one, although I'm going to pick the best overall, I think, for 2018. I need you to know, number one, this is my opinion, and this is based on the distros that I played with in 2018. There was a lot of them. There's videos on 90% of them, and there were ones that I did for Destination Linux, the podcast that I'm a part of, and those videos are out there. Our impressions or discussions on those are out there as well. But I did try a lot of distros in 2018, but hopped far, far less than I ever did in 2017. And I guess 2016 when I started this channel. So know that I want you to put in the comments below your favorite distro. Just because I picked my favorite doesn't mean the other ones aren't great. Doesn't even mean they're not better for you. Just means this was my favorite. So I'm going to give you the reasons why it's my favorite. You could disagree with those too. That's what being part of a community is, and this just being an opinion piece. When we think about desktop environments, this is an area where you can get a lot of people passionate about liking or disliking something. For me, this came down to a couple factors when I picked my best overall, and I have a couple categories for DE, desktop environments. But stability is very important. You know, I don't want to see issues with the menus not working correctly, with icons not showing up properly, font problems, major, issues with the graphics and how they show up. I want it to be stable, fast. I don't want it to be crashing on me, right? Performance, the memory and CPU consumption needs to be reasonable. I've seen some of these desktop environments going up into 1.5 to 2 gigabytes of RAM that they're utilizing sitting idle, versus other desktop environments that even look prettier, in my opinion, getting far less. GNOME, I'm looking at you here. So I like GNOME. I enjoy GNOME. I've even been playing with it recently. The memory consumption is a little ridiculous, at least in the distros that I tried, which was Antergos, Ubuntu Vanilla GNOME, Ubuntu GNOME, and Manjaro GNOME. So those are the three that I tried. Innovation. Are they bringing something new to the table? Are they innovating? Are they innovating in the apps that they have? Are they innovating in the technologies they're incorporating in the desktop environment? Are they doing new things and not just taking stuff away? GNOME, I'm looking at you again. Beauty. It has to be beautiful. This is an area where GNOME does well. GNOME is very beautiful, I think, depending on its setup, but for the most part, very, very beautiful. And its workflow. And GNOME can have a really good workflow because I beat up on GNOME twice now, so I feel like I needed to talk about the good things too. I didn't mean to beat up on GNOME. It's just the best example when we talk about performance and innovation of of a desktop environment that kind of lacks that. Whereas I think there are other desktop environments that excel there, but GNOME definitely has a good workflow to it. Not everybody's going to like the workflow, but it's there. And especially if you utilize extensions and things like that, you can make a really impressive workflow. And Beauty is a good one as well. You want to get into a desktop environment that doesn't look like, you're booted into Windows 95 or in some cases Windows 3.11. So Beauty matters. So there are a lot of DEs that hit this mark. They hit 2 or 3 of the categories, 4 of the categories. But when I really thought to myself, which desktop environment, take out my personal bias, which you guys know is heavily towards XFCE, and just really think about all of these categories, I think KDE wins. Here's why. KDE has finally come a long way in the areas that it wasn't hitting before, which was stability and usability. Its stability was very, very bad there for a while. That's just my experience with it. Some people will tell you they run it on their hardware, never had a problem in their entire life. Great. In the prior years, to me, KDE was not stable and its usability was But nowadays, it's completely different. In 2018, I feel like they really spent that time putting the polish on this desktop environment and stopping to fix the bugs and really improving what they already had. But on top of that, they also innovated. You have the multi-device conversion that they have, convergence of the desktop and the phones. All through KDE desktop, done very well. You've got KRunner, the Dolphin and Dolphin improvements that they've made, the workflow management, the multi-display widgets that they worked on, the sound improvements there, the customization abilities, the frequent updates and improvements. You're constantly getting something new. And if you're on something like an Arch, you're going to get those newer KDE Neon. You're going to be able to play with those even sooner, but they're constantly innovating there. Discover, their software store, is finally usable. So this was a major holdback for me in many occasions because Dolphin, now I pretty much just use the terminal. But if I was doing a review on a distro and I pull up Dolphin, it was like, I don't know, stab a needle in my eye. Like half the time you would search and it wouldn't even search for anything, or it'd search for the wrong thing and it was just crashing, and it was a pile of junk. But they have done incredible work, that team there, to improve Dolphin to the point where it is usable. I can go in there if I'm, feeling extra lazy and don't want to open a terminal, type in a program, it will find it, it installs it. It seems to do the statusing and things right. There's more work that could be done there, but it is a million times better. It's perfectly usable. The suite of KDE applications cannot go unnoticed here. You have Krita, Digicam, Spectacle, Kdenlive. I mean, come on. I couldn't have done this Linux challenge 3 years ago had it not been for Kdenlive. So Kdenlive is just an amazing product. I don't know why I keep hitting my mic. I'm very handsy today. But Kdenlive. So lots of, along with games, education, development tools, the innovation that they have there is just incredible. And finally stable is the last note that I have here. By the way, I wrote all my notes in Vim. I'm not even lying here. I'm getting used to this Vim thing. You guys keep talking about Vim. I'm really starting to like Vim. So that's me growing as a person, because I would never even logged into the thing before. I'd use Nano, but I'm growing as a person here. I'm really starting to like Vim. In any case, so KDE gets the best overall desktop environment of 2018. But that's not the only category. The best advanced workflow desktop environment. So this is for individuals who are server administrators, individuals who are having to have multiple screens up at once in order to do their work. This could be graphic designers, video editors, programmers, those type of things. And you need something that's advanced workflow. For me, it's i3. i3, as the i3 prodigy, it kind of has to be, but I really love i3. I love what i3 brings to Linux. Once you learn it, once you're able to get in there and configure it, it is fast, it is powerful, and you can just do so much with having your workflow set up the second you log in, opening all the different workspaces, opening the programs within those workspaces, tiled the way you want them on your screens, you know, your first and second monitor. It's just absolutely an incredible, incredible desktop environment. Not truly a desktop environment. It's a window manager that uses a desktop environment, but for advanced workflow, I don't think there's any better than it. It's absolutely amazing. So if you haven't tried i3 and you're into, you know, learning a little bit of coding and getting in there and playing with the configuration files, check it out. If you're not into all of that and you want to kind of experience it pre-set up, Arco Linux is the way to go here. Download and install Arco Linux i3. That's the best i3 implementation out there. We'll get into more on that later. The best lightweight desktop environment and the runner-up for the winner of the best desktop environment in 2018 for me is XFCE. Now, prior years, XFCE won hands down. The part that I couldn't give XFCE for, if I was being honest, was the innovation and the beauty part. Stability, performance, workflow, absolutely incredible. One of the easiest desktop environments to customize, but you have to do a lot of customization to really make it pretty. The customization is better than KDE. It's easier to do. It makes far more sense than KDE's, but it's also a little more limited in what it's capable of. And there wasn't a ton of innovation in XFCE this year. XFCE focuses on that stability, and maybe that's where it should stay. I'm not saying they should change, but when I added innovation as a category and I ran through it, I really couldn't give XFCE the distro of the desktop environment of the year here for that reason alone. But I think this next year, if you look at what Sean Davis is doing and what they're going to be implementing, be on the lookout for XFCE to be back on the list in 2019. I think they're doing some great things there. There's so many amazing things going on with the developers and the community. The same thing could be said for Ubuntu. The same thing could be said for the Solus team. I mean, there's so much innovation, so much pride in people's work going on right now in the communities and all these. That's why I don't want these videos to be like, oh man, I didn't make the list. Believe me, there are so many of you right now, developers and stuff that I've talked to on Destination Linux or utilized your products that I just absolutely adore. These are the ones that I was exposed to the most, the ones that I used and I felt the most comfortable with for the year. So don't be down on yourself if you didn't, get the name out for your desktop environment there. So now we're going into the distro. So this is difficult because in some cases the distro is packaged with not in some cases, distros are packaged with the desktop environments for the most part. And so what I'm going to talk about here is really a distro desktop environment combo when I talk about the best here, meaning having those two together gives you the best experience. So best overall distro out there for 2018. This is a really difficult category because there were so many good ones. But with KDE and what we talked about and then winning best desktop environment, and I take those same things and I apply it across the board to look at all the different distros, Ubuntu has to be the winner here. All the things we love about KDE, plus the stability of everything in Ubuntu behind the scenes, it's just a perfect package. If you're having problems with a computer, you need to get it running without any fuss, any issues installing it, full compatibility out of the box, not having to go hunt down special drivers or figure out how to get your Wi-Fi card driver in to get it to work because it's not showing up, or whatever problems that you've had. Install Ubuntu. You get that KDE beautiful DE, but you get that Ubuntu stability and driver base built in, and it's just going to work. You're going to stick it into your laptop, your computer. You're going to have your Wi-Fi drivers. You're going to have your video card drivers. You're going to be able to use everything through the GUI, and it's going to work. There's no hunting down special repositories to add to get the drivers and all of that. You just click on additional drivers in your menu, click your video card, click your Wi-Fi adapter. It's going to install them. You're done. It's no fuss. That has to count for something. The Ubuntu team Canonical has been incredibly innovative this year with their releases, especially all the work that's been done with snaps. They've also have some more work done with Windows integrations and things like that, which I think are very important. So I think Ubuntu wins there. Now, Different category, best distro for advanced users. So if you're not afraid to go in the terminal and download your drivers, you're not afraid to go into the terminal and download your missing Wi-Fi adapter, if you're not afraid to build your OS pretty much from scratch, minus the bootable ISO, then Arch Linux wins hands down. Arch Linux has come so far along in my book, at least from the 3 years that I've been in Linux. From when I tested it way back then, of course, my experience level was very different. I didn't have all the knowledge that I have today, and I've got a long way to go, but I've grown 3 years in the last 3 years in my knowledge. So maybe it was much easier for me now than it was back then. But it just seems like to me the improvements, especially in stability, have been monumental. It's fast. It's low on resources. It's cutting edge. The Pac-Man, come on. The AUR, you can get any software you want. Every time a review comes up and there's some software where they want you to compile it yourself and all of that, and put in all these commands or add in PPAs and all this stuff, it's like, I could just go to the AUR and search for it and download it in seconds. And that's kind of Arch. I mean, Arch is incredible. I've absolutely fallen in love with it. Definitely think it is the best distro for advanced users out there right now. I also want to give a shout out to use case specific distros, because you weren't going to catch me just giving one or two of my favorites, because I have a lot of favorites here. So you're going to bear with me. I'm going to make you listen. So I think that some shout outs are deserved for these distros that specific use cases especially are going to be your best bet. MX Linux, one of my favorite XFCE Debian distros out there. One of the kindest and most engaged developers, Dolphin, you're ever going to meet. He's a part of our Destination Linux Telegram group. Incredible individual and really cares about the community. Helps out everybody. Has a fantastic distribution. If you've not played with MX, you are missing out. So if you need something that's lightweight, that's Debian based, maybe you don't want an Ubuntu on, MX is something you need to check out immediately. Arco Linux, I talked about this already, but Arco Linux is one of my favorite Arch based distros for learning i3. It also is a great distro, period. But for me, it won my heart because it is the first distro that really taught me what i3 was capable of, because when you install the i3 version of Arco Linux, it's all set up with you with Eric's incredible knowledge and his customization abilities, and even a conky shortcut key help screen to help you figure out those commands so you're not sitting there going, how do I open a menu? Because i3 is very complex for a while, but he takes care of that for you in Arco Linux, and it's really an incredible experience. So Arco Linux, if you want to check out i3, definitely recommend it. If you don't want to go through the installation, you want to try Arch Linux, but you just don't want to go through all the installation and formatting your drives manually and that type of stuff, check out Arco Linux. Manjaro, Antergos are also good options there as well. I had to give a shout out here to Fedora 28 because I love me some Fedora this year. Specifically, if you like GNOME. I think personally, Fedora has the best GNOME implementation of any of the distros out there. I think because it's the closest to vanilla out of the box GNOME experience out there. They don't try to add anything to it. So it's just very simple, and then you can add your extensions on to make it work with your workflow. There's not a bunch of stuff you're looking to get rid of in there. So I think Fedora does a fantastic experience for GNOME. I do not recommend Fedora for new users. I would say intermediate to advanced, because there's a little bit of complications in some of the packages and things, specifically if you're trying to get proprietary software, and specifically if you have NVIDIA and trying to install those drivers. It's not simple. It's not like Ubuntu where you just click additional drivers and boom, you're done. So the best distro for stability is the other category I had to add, because you know I got to have XFCE win in here a couple more times, just because XFCE is the distro to me that's like a home-cooked meal, right? You can go to all the restaurants you want, but there's nothing like a home-cooked meal, and that's XFCE for me. If I was to pick a distro that, you know, just embodies home is where the heart is, it would have to have XFCE in it. because XFCE is just the first desktop environment that I fell in love with, that I just absolutely adored. So when I think about the best distro experience for stability on the planet right now, it's Ubuntu. When I need something that just works, no fuss, ability to customize, will boot every single time without giving me any problems, no qualms, no talking back, just work, it's Ubuntu. So, best distro for stability, Ubuntu. Best distro for advanced users, Arch. Best distro for everyone else, regardless of their skill level, Kubuntu. Best desktop environment this year, we got to give it to KDE here. Best advanced distro or desktop environment, we're giving it to i3. And best lightweight desktop environment and the runner-up for winning this year is XFCE. Most importantly, though, I want to make sure that you guys are, no matter what desktop environment, no matter what distro that you use, that you're giving the developers and the community that support these projects love and support. That's the most important thing. And when I'm talking about support, I'm talking about money here. So last Friday, I tried to start something. I tried to kick off a kind of a Twitter trend and a Mastodon trend where I was like, let's do a thank you Friday, FOSS thank you Friday, and just donate money to our favorite project. So I went out there and screenshotted every donation. I don't know, I give away 6 or 7 or 8 donations that I did on there for different projects, just picking them and trying to show that support. Give them some funds. You utilize this every single day. You don't have to spend the hundreds of dollars on Windows licenses and hundreds of dollars on Adobe licenses and hundreds of dollars on Office licenses and all of this stuff. You can, if you're capable, take some time and give some money to these, and or donate your time or talk about them in social media. Give your developers a shout out. Tell them how much you love their projects. They freaking deserve it. So do it. While we're talking about that, know that on the DasGeek community page, if you want to support this channel, there are options on there for you to support. I still have a Patreon, though I am not really advertising that because I have some issues with how Patreon's been lately. So there are other things on there that you could donate to me. You can use Bitcoin to donate to me on there. You'll see an option for, you can also do a coffee, buy me a coffee, KOFI, where you can support me as well. If enough people move over there from my Patreon, then I will move away from Patreon entirely. But here's the thing that you get direct access to a private Telegram DasGeek community, where if you're part of Telegram in any way, most of these groups, 500-600 people long. This is a very small group of individuals. You can have really good discussions there. That's the benefit you get. But if you have to choose between me giving me money or a developer, give it to the developers, give it to the open source projects that you utilize the most, the software and things like that. Seriously, because they're the ones who deserve it the most. But thank you for those who do want to support this channel. It really does help, and I really do appreciate it. So if you've not got enough DasGeek lately, check out Destination Linux podcast, where I am one of the hosts every single week. You can become a patron of that show, and you get to watch it live, or become a Ko-fi subscriber there too, because we're going to have that option. Let me know in the comments below what you think about the desktop environments and distros that I chose. What are your favorites? These are my favorites. These are my opinions. If you take that same list of options that I gave there, you know, looking at stability, performance, innovation, beauty, and workflow, which were your favorite ones? And I just realized I talked to you guys about using Vim now for my notes and you couldn't see it. So now I guess I got to prove it. There. Now you can see that I really did use Vim for my notes. It's all part of my training lately. In any case, look forward to hearing from you. Until next time, get out there and fill your brain.
Don't forget to subscribe. Thumbs up like the video.